Hello, everybody. Hi, Lamzi. Good to see you.
Hi.
Tebalo, Tebelo, it's good to see you. Hello.
Thank you very much. I'm glad to be with you again.
Hi, Anu. Hi, everyone.
Hi, Nagor. It's good to see you. Welcome, welcome. All right, so we're just going to start in a few more seconds. We want more people in the room before we begin, okay? If you can show us some love by showing us your love that. Right? Friday people. Thank you, DJ, for that song.
Cleopatra Mukula.
Is it from Nigeria?
I don't think so. Hello, Katongo. Thank you for showing us your video.
Hi, Anu. How are you?
Hi, thank you. All right, I think we can begin. Thank you. Thank you, DJ. Thank you, DJ. All right. Thank you, DJ. There'll be more time for music at the end of our conversation today. So do not go anywhere. You can stay with us till the end. Welcome, 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 everybody to United Voices. What is going on? Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are. My name is Anu Olarewaju. This is United Voices, What is Going On, our monthly family gathering. And for this month, we're talking about child protection against aggression and child labor. We've had a first session at 12 p.m. CEST today, and it was quite informative and enlightening. And I believe that would also be what we'll experience here at the 5 p.m. session. The first part of our conversation today will focus on this theme, and the second part of our conversation would feature UPG champions on their work, projects, or actions that they are taking in the world. And then we will take the City Mini Insight about different happenings around the world. For today's theme, we have experts in our midst who are professionals and would enlighten and inform us on how we can protect children against aggression and child labor, and also tell us what signs to watch out for and the contributing factors to these issues around the world. This is a family gathering. As you know, we are a family, we're a community full of love, energy. So please feel free to make comments in the chat. When you want to speak, raise your hands and I'll call on you. If you have any questions, put it in the chat or raise your hands and I would take your questions as well. So if this is your first time of joining us in this month's United Voices, I want to say welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. And if you're a regular on our conversation, shout out to you. Thank you for coming back again. So without further ado, we'll get on to our conversation, child protection against aggression and child labor. We would share a poll and then kick off our conversation. Thank you. Please let me know if you can see the poll question. Can you all see it? So please participate. Thank you very much. So the question is, what are the forms of child exploitation? Option 1, sexual exploitation. Option 2, labor exploitation. Option 3, domestic servitude. Option 4, forced criminality. And option 5, others. There are no wrong answers. So we just want to kick off our conversation with these questions. Thank you. Hello, Emmanuel Odero. It's good to see you. Hello. Hi, James, once again. Letitia, hi, it's good to see you again. Okay. Please participate in the call if you haven't done so. All right, I would end the poll now. Okay, can we all see the results? Okay.
Yes.
All right,
My
thank
end,
you.
I'm seeing.
Thank you. Okay, so the 93% of us chose labor exploitation as the forms of child exploitation. 73% of us chose sexual exploitation. 67% of us chose domestic servitude and forced criminality. And 23% of us actually chose others. So I want to open the floor to two people to just share the reasons why they chose their answer or what they've seen around them to make them choose their answer. So if you'd like to speak, please raise your hands, just two hands, and I'll call on you. Thank you. All right. Thank you, Wangfon. You got the microphone.
Sorry, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Wangfon.
Okay, thank you so much. Good evening from Nigeria. So I chose sexual exploitation because of what is happening in my community. I actually lived in a place where young girls are giving out for early marriage because the family see it as source of financial kind of breakthrough to the family. So for instance, if a child is up to 12, is up to 13, 11, the child is given out for marriage. Sometimes the family use the child to as collateral to a loan they have collected from friend, from neighbor. Now, sometimes when the wife is even pregnant, they predict that the wife is going to give birth to a female child, right? And at the end of the day, they promise the person they collected loan from that they are going to give their female child to them for marriage, no matter the age of the man. So when the child is actually born, they take care of the child for like, when the child is up to like say 8, they give out this child for early marriage to a 60-year-old man, 40-year-old man, and that is not okay. That is not okay. That is inflicting on the rights of children. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Wangfon, for sharing your experience and what you've seen in your community. Okay, the second hand is Banzi. Banzi, you got the microphone.
Thank you, Anu. Thank you very much for the opportunity. I would like to talk about child labor, and child labor in Ghana is very serious. And I'm saying horrible because, one thing is that in the northern part of my country, that is Ghana, it's a bit poor, let me put it that way, So everyone wants to move to the southern sector to find greener pastures. And sometimes those who are into fish farming and then cocoa growing communities will go to the north and tell them, look, I want to help you, but first of all, I need help in my farm or someone to assist me in fishing, but I would like to help your ward to attend education. And because there is poverty that they cannot fend for them, so okay, that is the help I'm looking for. So if you're into help, why not take them, then go and help them. They get down to the southern sector. The focus is not on education. They use them for fishing. You see some as early as 5 years, 6 years, Oh my goodness. Psalm 15:12, and you see them at the seashore. Some of they allow them to be gathering net, or when they go for fishing and return, they'll be washing the net and all that. They also send to the farming community the cocoa. You know, when it's for harvesting the cocoa, they will be in charge of gathering the cocoa pods, that when they harvest them, and then they will be gathering the cocoa pods and all that. And some too, they will go into contractual agreement with the parents. I don't know whether I should say ignorantly or what, that okay, I need your word to help me, but I'll give you something if you allow him or her to stay with me for this period of years. And they will pay. So whatever goes on there, they don't know exactly where their parents, those people are taking their words to, but they will ignorantly allow their words to because of the money. As I said, you know, at the northern part of Ghana, it's not that there is a lot of poverty there, so they gladly give their words, and these people use them in all kind of trade, especially cocoa farming and then the fish farming. So it's very horrible in Ghana in terms of other exploitation. Some too use them for this kind of sex trade, like the females
Yeah,
among them
sexual
that are
exploitation. Yeah,
for.
thank you. Thank you
So
so much, Bansi. Thank you. All right, Katongo, you got the microphone quickly before we move on. Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Anu. Can you hear me?
Yes.
For
we
me,
can.
I actually picked all the options because I believe they are all forms of exploitation. And since my friends have already been explaining, I think I'll just end there. So for me, in my community, all those are forms of exploitations that I have noticed.
Thank you so much. All right. Thank you so much, Katongo. We have a special guest. Actually, we have two special guests who are experts in this field. So I want to call on the first guest speaker, Wycliffe Odong. Wycliffe Odong is a disability inclusive development practitioner with a wide range of experiences in areas such as governance, system strengthening, and so on. He is into the implementation of disability inclusion, and he has an MA in local governance and human rights from Uganda Matthias University. So please, with a lot of UPG love and appreciation, please let's welcome Mr. Wycliffe as he tells us more about our topic for today, child protection against aggression and child labor. DJ, can we have music to welcome Mr. Wycliffe? Thank you.
Welcome, sir.
Thank you.
All right, you can begin, Mr. Wycliffe. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Anu. Thank you, everyone. Nice to be here. This is my first time on this platform, and I'm glad you reached out to me to share with you. My presentation is on child protection against aggression and child labor. And if here is the presentation outline, we are going to have a definition. We are going to define child protection. Then we'll look at the legal instruments and the core guiding principles for child protection work. We are going to look in depth into aggression on children and child labor, while as well looking at the relationships within this topic: child labor, aggression, and child protection. We are going to explore the child protection framework, the framework we use in responding to aggressions and child labor, which literally is the rings of responsibilities. And with that, we're going to shoot two birds with one stone, three birds actually, by looking at the key observations we have made, and then the single call to action we are having. Next slide, please. Yeah, child protection is as simple as doing four things. One, all actions that we do that demonstrates that we are reducing risks to children's holistic well-being is child protection work. And also, all that we do that make children's rights a reality, things that we do to demonstrate that issues of children's rights is actually a reality, is child protection work. Things to do with the restoring hope and dignity and dignified living in a child where abuse has occurred. When we do such, it is also child protection work, because there are times we can do everything, but a child still gets abused. So it doesn't stop there that we failed. Things that we do beyond that in restoring hope and a dignified living in a child is still child protection work. And the last component in defining child protection is where we are doing things that entail creating an enabling environment, a protective environment that supports children's positive development, is child protection work. So we cannot do only one of the four, but we need to do all. They could be at different levels, case by case, but we need to ensure we are doing things that reduce risks to children's holistic well-being. We do things that really demonstrate that children's rights are reality. Then we restore hope and dignified living in children where abuse has occurred. And we ensure we are creating a protective or enabling environment. With that, we are doing child protection work. Next slide, please, Anu. So with this, just like in any other arena, we have legal policy frameworks. In this, we are going to interest ourselves in the key legal instruments that we always have to refer to when we are doing child protection work, irrespective of where you are. One is the United Nations Conventions on the Rights of the Child. This is an overarching framework that every nation that develops their laws, or regions, or blocks, in relation to protecting of children, they have to ensure what they do fits into that. And almost every nation in the world has ratified it, with the exception of the United States and Somalia, I think, then maybe South Sudan. We have the refugee law. This law applies to only refugees, of course, including children. And it applies to the specific aspects of refugees. And we always, especially those in humanitarian action, this is a very handy law. And then we have international humanitarian law, the Geneva Conventions, with all their optional protocols. This, in many cases, is being referred to as the law of war. These are laws that govern how combatants should handle civilians in situations of war, just like we are having war now in the Ukraine. Then we are having regional and national laws, charters, and conventions. These are sets of laws at various levels where nations come together or act as individuals to domesticate international laws, charters, and conventions with the aim of protecting children. In Africa here, we're having the African Charter on the Rights and Welfare of the Child, which is in force even up to now. Next slide, please, Anu. So when you look at this topic, we are having around 3 variables. We are having child protection, we are having aggression, and we are having child labor. So I wanted us to look at the interrelationships between these, amongst these concepts in relation to our work. But most importantly, I want to start with giving us the definition of what child labor is. You see, these are acts of exploitation of children through any form of work that deprives children of their childhood, as well interfering with their ability to attend regular school, and is mentally or physically, socially, and morally harmful. This sends us to the pointer question of how you can point out the pointers for you to to confirm that this is an act of child labor or not. So when you see children are allowed to work, but in various countries, children of varying, the age for children to start working, gainful employment, they're different. Like in Uganda, where I come from, the age is 16. But still, the law says that even if a child is allowed to work, because a child is somebody below the age of 18, if a person of 16 is allowed to work, for example, in a country like Uganda, still, it has to be work that does not interfere with the education of the child, does not affect the child mentally or physically, socially, or morally in a harmful way. Once a certain kind of work now does that, it becomes child labor. And the other key component to look for is that aspect of exploitation people want to gain out of the efforts of the children, especially when you look at, for example, the example my brother from Ghana gave. So child labor in itself is an act of aggression. So mathematically, we can say child labor is equals to aggression. And it is very prevalent. Like you can see UNICEF is saying 1 in 10 children are subjected to child labor worldwide, with some being forced to work in very hazardous conditions. And when you look on the right of your screen, try to go further to look at the forms of aggression on children. Literally, when you look at aggression, these are abuses. And we classify them alongside how we look at child abuse. So you find there are forms of aggression that are physical, sexual, emotional, or mental, neglect, circumstantial. I'd like to throw some light on the last two maybe. Neglect, many separate it from child abuse, but it is a form of abuse, because if somebody fails to do what they're supposed to do, what they're able to do, but they don't do it, to cater for a child, it is a form of abuse. So once a child is abused, it is already a form of aggression, because it is literally going to affect the child. When you refer this to the definition of aggression, you see it is very related. Then circumstantial aggression. You know, there are times when we don't intend to harm children. Like in situations of wars, in situations where maybe a mother gets pregnant, is HIV positive, and maybe for some reason the mother has been on antiretroviral treatment very well, but still a child gets to get exposed to HIV. In such a situation, it is an abuse. But in this case, you don't have to incarcerate the mother for that, because it is a circumstance. This is where we need to handle things on really a case-by-case basis when doing case management in child protection. Next slide, please. Yeah, still further trying to demonstrate the relationship there between these concepts: child protection, aggression, child labor. Literally and logically, when there is child labor, you're already doing an act of aggression on a child. And with that, you are not protecting the child. When you look at the definition of child protection, you'll find that you are not observing the rights of the child. You are exposing the child to risks. You are not restoring hope, because this kind of work, and a child has to rejuvenate, has to recover from all these kind of hardships. And you don't do that because of the need to keep exploiting the child. So all this tantamounts to child abuse, and in that, the child is not being protected. So child labor leading to aggression tantamounts to no protection for a child. Next slide, please. Yeah, now, how do we act? We don't need to reinvent wheels. There are already frameworks for us to follow in responding to issues of child abuse, including child labor and as well aggression, which we've just looked at. So in child protection work, we already have a framework which you can apply, irrespective of where you are, to respond to a specific issue that has come up. Remember, child protection issues, we handle them case by case. In this case now, we are looking at child labor and aggression. So the child protection framework, which is the rings of responsibilities, is there. It is something which it is a component which has like 6 rings, where the first ring and the smallest is the child, and the following one is the family, the community, institution, national and international rings. Each of these rings have actors, and each of the actors, they have roles to play. In this case, we are looking at child labor and we are looking at issues of aggression. So technically, these rings are supposed to be not so permeable and as well not so rigid. We assume they are flexible. And when it is so permeable, it means the people who are next to the child, say if the ring between the child and the family is very permeable, it means either the family is doing something that can affect the child negatively or positively. When it is too rigid, it means, for example, a child cannot reach out for help or otherwise. And in this ring, we have a key observation in respect to our presentation today, that always, even when you have to help in situations of child labor, you have to ensure that you put at the back of your mind that the ring that is closest to the child is always the most effective in preventing aggression and as well child labor. And also on the other way around, it is always the ring that is responsible for making a child get exposed to such kind of compromising conditions. So in this case, you see the family ring is very key. Looking at the example of my brother from Ghana, you will realize that this child who left northern Ghana going southwards came out of a family. What were the parents doing? What were the extended family members doing? You get it? So this brings us to our call to action, that we need to strive to see that all our interventions, we strive to strengthen the capacities of children and families to perform their roles in preventing aggression and child labor. Because when we don't do that, the people, for example, in the international ring, the UNICEFs, the international NGOs cannot do much. The national ring, the laws and policies and practices within a nation will not do much in helping if, for example, the children are not empowered enough, the families are not empowered enough and held responsible, and as well, the community members, those who are closest to the child, should be targeted for all our interventions in fighting these vices. For this time, I think I can end here, and would welcome questions and other key observations. I thank you.
Thank you.
Over to you, Anna.
Thank you so much. Please, can we show a lot of appreciation to
Wow, beautiful presentation indeed.
Thank you. Thank you for your presenting. Okay, so before we go to the questions and answer, we have another guest in our midst that I would also introduce and would like him to speak. And then we go to question and answer, open the floor for everyone, and then we move on. Okay, so DJ, can we have music? Thank you.
On casse ta porte, c'est la Gestapo. Je vais te retrouver, me Guigo Lambo. Ça veut vendre des tonnes à la Gustavo. Un café sans sucre, j'en ai plein sur le dos. Eh ouais, ma puce, là tu me Rambo. Ça va faire 6 ans qu'on met des combos. Je manie les mélos, voilà oui, voilà non. Tu te demandes si c'est pas un complot. Oh les mains,
Nice song,
mec, ça
DJ.
fait en bas les mains, bas les mains, bas les
Can't wait to
mains. Ça
dance.
roule façon Aladdin. Oh les mains, oh les mains, oh les mains. Sauf les mecs, ça fait en bas les mains, bas les mains, bas les mains, bas les mains. Ça roule façon Aladdin. Passe avant minuit. Je vais te faire vivre un dream. Avance sur la piste, les yeux sont rivés sur toi, les habits qui brillent, tels les mille et une nuits. Paris est vraiment ça fait comme jamais, ça fait comme jamais, ça fait comme jamais.
Okay. If this is your first time of joining us, know that we always have music at every of our sessions at United Voices, but especially during United Voices, we have a after party. So if you'd like to join, we see the DJs on fire already. Do not go anywhere. Okay, thank you. So I'll be calling on our next guest speaker before we go on to question and answer. James Adek. He's a child protection expert currently working with Refuge Point Incorporated. He has over 7 years of experience in refugee sector, implementing various programs that include child protection, mentorship, and livelihood. So with lots of UPG love, let's welcome James. Mr. James Adek to the microphone. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you for this opportunity, and for everyone, good afternoon or good evening rather. I'll just be very brief this time. I want to talk about the different violence that the different violence that children face or are perpetrated against by children, and we'll also look at the different symptoms and signs to look for children who are facing the different violence or protection risks. And first of all, we just want to understand first, when we talk about violence, what do we mean? Basically, violence against children is any form or pattern of differences within a large scale, either in social structure, be it power differences, wealth differences, privileges differences, education, health, etc., etc. So, and the different children that children as general is any person who is under the age of 18 years. However, when now we want to really understand the different vulnerabilities and risks that children face, then we tend to really digest and try to understand the different categories of children. And then now based on that, we are able now to understand the ones who are susceptible or vulnerable to violence, exploitation, and abuse. So we have children who are living with their parents, accompanied children, and most of them sometimes face risk, and some of the risk factors that this kind of children face either are mostly perpetrated by the caregivers or the parents. And as Wycliffe also highlighted a little bit about the legal instruments, if we look at CRC, when looking at the aggression against children who are living with their parents, you find that CRC really emphasizes on separating children from their parents when it is very severe. And this is it's the most gravest action to do, separating children from their parents against the parents' will. However, when you're doing the assessment, you really need to understand the frequency, the pattern, and the magnitude of the abuse that the child has faced by their parents. So the differences also, it's very important to understand. And when you're looking at the statistics generally, it's estimated in approximately 1 billion children between the age of 2 to 17 yearly face physical, sexual, and emotional violence. And what is also important to know is that when we don't address these challenges or these protection concerns, then there's likelihood that the childhood of a person impacts their lifelong health and well-being. And for psychologists in the house, we usually say that when you're doing diagnosis, when you're counseling any person, you really try to go deep to their childhood, because a lot of experiences or the mental health related concerns are attributed by their childhood. So some of the contributing factors that you're looking at that put children at risk of violence, exploitation, abuse, neglect. Number one factor is, poverty. And when you say poverty, if we find children who are living with their parents and parents are not able to fend for them, tend to either expose these children to child labor and force them to drop out of school because they cannot afford school fees. Others also force them to early marriage, in exchange of dowry and also some, materialistic benefits. Others also force them to, do domestic work, and in the process also they get exploited, maybe in the domestic duties and all and other activities. Then we have another contributing factor, which is gender inequality. Basically, if you look at boys, the structure of boys, most of them are brought up, to really understand and be strong and confident and to express their emotions, and most of them don't express themselves. So you find they grow up, with a lot of mental challenges because they don't speak out. And it's one of the perception that most boys are supposed to be strong. And girls, also girls, sometimes when you look at inequality, you're looking at perceptions in terms of girls not going to school, like sex in school, or sometimes, they are forced into early marriage. And in conflict situations, you find boys and girls are vulnerable to recruitment, to become child soldiers. Others are forced, to become wives of soldiers, etc. Then other contributing factor is the economic necessity. And this you're looking at the migration trends. And sometimes it's attributed also to the policies and the laws of different countries. Like I can give you an example of Eritrea. Eritrea has a policy of forceful conscription into military immediately after completing your school, maybe at the age of 17, then 18, you join military. So as a result of this, you find a lot of children are forced to leave the country at a very tender age and use illegal or irregular routes in order, one, to access better education opportunities. Others want, to have better life. And in the process of this, they're exposed to different, violence and the way. Others get kidnapped, others are beaten and tortured and detained in different countries. Then we have war. We've also touched on that, like example, like the Ukraine-Russia war, and the different conflicts in Congo, for instance, Sudan, Syria, Afghanistan. So you find this one, as a result of this, it contributes to displacement. So children tend to, to suffer from this because, one, they get separated from their family members, and others are forced, to become child-headed household, and they're forced to assume adult roles in order to provide for the younger siblings, etc., etc. So this is some of the contributing factors that contribute to violence, exploitation, and abuse for children. So some of the early signs, these are just some of the examples. However, there are many more. When you're looking at children in general, those who are going to school, sometimes those who are exposed to violence and abuse, you find, they have behavioral changes. Psychologically, they become withdrawn, isolated, and most of them become secretive. There are others who you'll see the early signs of children acquiring new perceptions, maybe phone or gifts, and they cannot really explain the original where they got them. The unexplained physical harm, scars. This is mostly the children who suffer from physical violence, being beaten up. Others also, change of sleeping patterns, experiencing nightmares. And they can give an example of one child you're working with that was a survivor of, child recruitment. He was a former child soldier, and it was really hard to identify a care placement for this kind of child because, because of all the abuses and exploitation that he faced, you find the child will scream at night, will become violent, and it will really be difficult, for the caregiver to continue caring for this child. So when you're looking at this violence in general, so what are some of the remedies, or what should we do, to reduce or curb such violence, exploitation, and abuse that children face? One, education is key, education and life skills. This also includes, sex education for the children, girls and boys who are exposed to, sexual violence. They also need to understand, sex education is very important. Then changing social norms, especially with respect to gender. And this is really understanding and encouraging boys to express themselves, and also, encouraging also girls to access school. Then the harmful practices like FGM, early child marriage, all this are also attributed because of cultural and beliefs. So changing the social norms and cultural is very important. And also, if you're looking at preventive and response services, and purely this is child protection now, where now also Wycliffe touched on it a little bit, looking at the different programs like the mental health services to address the related mental health conditions. We're also looking at cash-based interventions, to ensure that the children meet basic needs, especially the children who are unaccompanied children who have left their country because of conflicts and instability. We're looking at responding to different concerns that are facing children. Also, the other one is mostly to understand, the laws and policies of different countries. Of course, we have the regional instruments, we have, international and national legal instruments, but again, also favoring this, the legal instruments to favor or to put the child at the center. So the child being the child's best interest at the center. So like one of the example is, demolishing institutionalization of children and adopting family-based care as one, and the different countries have adopted this, and it is still, an advocacy to advocate for many countries to abolish the different, institutionalization and adopting family-based care. Then learning the difference between safe and unsafe secret. The safe secrets, like for instance, the normal party, surprises, that's a bit secret. But the unsafe secrets that also the children need to understand, to learn, is the secret of a child has been exploited, sexually exploited, and has been told, has been given gifts and told to keep quiet. So they also need to understand that this has a lot of repercussion, and they need to learn to speak out. So these are just some of them. But again, we have so many, and I know because of time, we'll stop at this point and allow questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mr. James. Can we show appreciation to Mr. James? Thank you so much, Mr. Wycliffe and Mr. James, for your presentations. So now the floor will be open for any question and answer you have. You can stop sharing your screen. Mr. James. Okay, so if you have any question or you want to, give a comment on based on what we've heard and learned now, the floor would be open for you to do that. So I see someone very special in our midst. I hope she's still here. I see Yemi's mom, Mrs. Morenike Babington Ashaye. So if we can just appreciate her presence, recognize her presence and welcome her. Ma, if you can unmute, please do. Want to say we see you. Thank you for joining us today at United Voices.
Welcome, Ma.
Welcome, Ma'am. Thank you. Okay, I don't think she's still mute. All right, so any questions, any comments? The floor is now open. If you want to say something, please go ahead. All right, so Lamzi, you got the microphone.
Hello. Am I audible? Hello?
Yes, you're audible. We can hear you, Lamzi.
Okay. Thank you so much. So I want to know, in a situation, because we are saying take steps in protecting the child from harm, as the case may be. Okay, let's say I'm an activist in my country, Serbia, and I realize that a girl child who is below the age of 18 has deliberately left the parents and have come to stay with a man who is not yet probably the husband to her, and this child is on her age, let's say 16 and 17, just that she has grown. And you have seen that this child is supposed to be in school, not to be staying with a man. And you decided to go and talk with the child, you explain to her that her staying in this house will not help her, you try to convince her. But she still refuses to go and she just wants to stay. She wants to play the motherly role. She wants to become a mom at a very early age. So what can I do? Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Lamzi. All right. Thank you so much, Lamzi, for your question. So if I got your question clearly, you want to know what you can do to prevent a child from assuming an adult role because that's what the child has been used to. Okay, so any of the speakers can take the question. I think it's more of mental and how the child was raised, in my opinion, but I'll leave it to the experts. So Mr. Wycliffe, Mr. James, any of you can answer.
If I can answer, please.
Yes, please.
In this case, mostly we look at the national legal framework, but first and foremost, what you need to understand is you really need to understand the national child protection system, the existing, child welfare officers or child protection officers in the government, because they have the power or responsibility of acting or enforcing any law. But what I also want to add on this is the age of consent. This is where it's very, very important to really understand that age of consent differs depending on different countries. Like for instance, age of consent in Sweden is 15 years. Age of consent in different countries is 16. There are others as low as 12 years old. So if you are living in a country where the age of consent is 12 years old, then it becomes really difficult to enforce the law since the law favors the child to make that decision because, the age of consent favors the child. However, if you're looking at the international framework, we look at conventions on the right of the child, and the age of consent under CRC is 18 years old. So depending on your country, you need to understand the age of consent and then try to work with the child welfare officer in the national system or ministry rather to enforce the intervention of this child, and to work with you directly to ensure that the child accesses school and other other support. But again, you really need to understand the national laws. Thank you.
Thank you so much, James. All right, Ogunbumi, you got the microphone.
Good afternoon, everyone. My question is based on, I hope everybody can hear me. Hello?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Actually, my mom has a child with her, but the child just came as a result of his dad is no longer alive, and her mom went to get married to another husband, and the husband kept maltreating the mom. So there are times that they go hungry for like 2 days, 3 days, and nothing to, they don't have anything to eat. They are just in poverty, and the man is not taking responsibility for them. Even the mother, when you see the mom, you will know that, wow, she's really suffering. So my mom had to take custody of the child. I mean, like the older child, because the woman has 2 children. So one for the other husband and one for this person that have already died. So my mom has to take custody of this child. But ahead of education, like giving this child education, what happened is this child has, because of poverty, he has passed the age of, really going to school. Not like past the age, but like he's around like 15, 16, and is in primary 3. So you get what I'm trying to say. So she's not even intelligent, like when it comes to educational wise, she's not sound, mainly because of what has happened. So looking at it, my mom sees it that why not make her learn a trade, and at the end of the day, help her set up a shop at the end of the day. So, but she's staying with my mom. My mom feeds her every time. So by the time she grows to a matured human being that is enough to get married or something, my mom promised her to help her set up a shop. I hope this is not child labor. Even though the child feels a monk, there are times she even calls me her auntie. So it's just more like my mom treating her like one of her children. So I just want to know, hope this is not child labor in any way, because this time around, it is the mother that brought this child to my mom, mainly because she couldn't afford to feed her for 3 days. So I just want to know.
All right, thank you so much. I think you asking shows that you care. So I don't know if Mr. Wycliffe wants to answer as a professional.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, my sister, for asking. Child protection cases always, they are handled case by case basis. And in this case, to answer whether this is going to be child labor or not, it takes us back to the definition we had for child labor. 1, is your mom doing it to exploit the child or not? 2,
No.
If the child is to work, because if it is learning a trade, that is education, informal education, which is okay. And if she is to work, is that work going to tamper with her education? Is she in school anyway or not? Because sometimes we may think everyone must be in school, but when maybe because of many issues, schools may not be the best option. I'm not saying it's not the best option in this case, but is the work the other girl is going to do, is it going to be harmful? Is it going to be a bad thing for her education? Is it going to be bad for her health? Is it going to be bad for her mental and physical well-being? When those questions, or one of them is a yes, then that amounts into child labor. But I don't know the working age in your country. If the child is at that age is allowed to work or not. But the litmus test is it a form of exploitation? Is it that the child is going to work to be exploited? Is she going to be exposed to all those dangers? When those questions are ticked to be yes, then it would be child labor. But if not, then that is part of training and preparing a child to be able to stand for themselves in the future.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mr. Winfred. Okay, please, I'll give the mic to Mrs. Morenike Babington Ashai, Yemi's mom. So you got the microphone, Ma.
No, good afternoon. Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. You see, most of the time we have opportunity to discuss issues. We need to be thinking about government. And government, we are the government. There is nothing we cannot do with our government. You see, when you talk about poverty, poverty is brought about by class system, by those who have designed the social structure in such a way that some people will be looked at as poor and some people will be looked at as rich. And that is because there is no equal opportunity and also equal distribution of nations' wealth. So in our communities, whatever we can do, we have to start doing it. And when you look at the family structure, it's important that we get into our communities and educate people. The fact that a child lost his or her parents does not mean that that child should be abandoned. At least that child was born into a family. We must make sure that we have a structure that a child is well catered for by the family that he or she belongs. We know that there are a lot of men that will disown children, but at least the mother will not disown her child. And as such, we must have that responsibility in our community to make sure that the children, once they are born, it is the duty of the family to look after that child. Even if they have to contribute when a child loses his parents, they must contribute to make sure that that child is well developed. And we must make sure that government distribute the commonwealth, because if the commonwealth is distributed to households, there will be no poverty. But government, they would like to spend money on building bridges, on building hospitals, bridges and other infrastructure that will enable them to enrich themselves and not enrich the people. That's my contribution.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mer. Please, can we appreciate everyone who has asked the question, who has spoken? Thank you so much. I think what we've highlighted here today is really something we need to think about and take actions on. Okay, so we are running out of time. So I would like us to quickly move on to the second part of our conversation today. So DJ, if we could please have music. And while we
I want to contribute.
Okay, Omar. All right, please,
Yes,
you have 30 seconds. Quickly, please. Thank you.
I am late to join the conversation. I am Omar from the Gambia. I'm a teacher by profession. And we do encounter a lot of child, malpractices or child abandon or children who are disowned by their parents. And most of the time when they are in school, they don't have good care, and they don't have somebody to take care of their education. So most of the time it's difficult. It is important that we, particularly those engaged in the education sector, to educate parents about the importance of being responsible for their children. And also the second suggestion I want to give is the government. Somebody say, when you say the government, we are referring to ourselves, should also establish a school where those children that are abandoned, can be referred to those schools or those caretaker, how I call it, like a sort of school whereby those that are abandoned by their parents can be taken care of. So I think that's very, very important. That's my contribution.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Omar, for that. Okay, DJ, if we could please have music as we go. All right, I'll call him. Okay, thank you, DJ. There'll be more time for music. I know DJ can get to work, right? Even me too, I can't wait to dance. All right, so thank you so much. Please, can we appreciate our guests today, Mr. Wycliffe, Mr. James? Let's thank them for their time. Now we are moving on to the second part of the segment. So I want to call on Alex to do something very special. Everyone say hello to Alex. I'm sure you've not seen him before. So over to you, Alex.
Yes, thank you, Anu. Hi, everybody. My name is Alex, and probably I'm going to be a new face for you, but I've been here for a while now. So we smoothly move on to the next segment of our meeting, and that is called Welcoming First-Timers and Celebrating Birthdays. So it would be really great and awesome if you could raise your hand if this is your first time here with us. This is your first United Voices meeting. So if
yes, if this is your first time, please raise your hands. We want to give you a UPG welcome. Raise your hands. DJ, we need music. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Wycliffe. Good to have you here. Stephen, thank you so much for joining us today. You're welcome to United Voices. This is a monthly family gathering. Thank you. Zine, I see you doing this. Your first time. Thank you so much for joining us today. We're so glad to have you. Thank you. All right, thank you, DJ.
Yes, thank you. And we also would like to celebrate birthdays. So if you have a birthday this month, then we wish you only the best from our side. And please also raise your hand too if it's your birthday
this month. Yeah. If it's your birthday this month, please raise your hand. It's my mom's birthday this month, and I'm going to be celebrating on behalf here with you all. So, Alex, want to say something?
Yeah, I also had birthday recently, so I'm also raising my hand.
Yay! So we're going to sing a happy birthday to everyone celebrating their birthday this month. You can unmute yourself if you want to join us. On the count of 3, we would sing a happy birthday song. Okay, Alex, over to you.
Yes, DJ. Great.
1, 2, ready, go. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. I'm just hearing my voice alone. Happy birthday. Happy birthday. Happy birthday to you. Awesome. We wish you long life.
Happy birthday. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Wishing you the best.
Wishing you all the best in life. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. DJ, this is where we need music. Thank you.
Yes.
The bottle is up, we're over the top, it's time to get wild. The time of a life, it's happening now. We're out of control.
All right.
We're rolling over and over, we down the river, we drunk and all of a
Thank you, DJ. Now we are moving on to the featured champion segment. This is where we feature our UPG champions who share their work, their initiative and actions that they are taking to make the world a better place. I want to call on the first champion today is Nagor Kani. Nagor, if you can please unmute yourself and you got the microphone.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Anu. Thank you, UPG, for giving this opportunity. So I'm very happy to present my work here. So can you just give me a permission
Yes,
to
we are
share?
going to share your presentation now. Yes.
Okay, thank you so much. Yes. See my presentation. I hope everyone can see that, right?
Yes, we can.
Thank you so much. Okay. So my name is Nahul Kani. I'm a research scholar. I'm working on women empowerment, and also my work is a project which is going to focus on SDG 2 and 4, especially no hunger and this quality education. Apart from that, we are also providing education. Also, we are working on SDG 1. So this is about my introduction. So I'm doing actively work on abolishing hunger, poverty alleviation, and quality education. So the organization which I am aligned with for my project is Pasiyattu. The logo is in Tamil language, but the project for my project name is Project for the Needy. So those who are in need of help, especially economic as well as educational help. That's my project. And the objective of my project is hunger-free Madurai. The Madurai is the city I belong to. It is in India and Tamil Nadu state, which focuses on SDG 2 and abolishing poverty, helping people to attain their education, so that they can abolish their poverty. So that is also focusing on SDG 1 and facilitating quality education. That's also I focused on that. So here is what I'm doing as a UPG. As you can see from the picture itself, you can see that what we are doing is. So we are a group of people. So we do crowdfunding for small projects like we'll be giving food to the homeless people and giving other help. So let's see that. So first, impact on hunger. So what we are doing is we started with 120 food parcels per month. What we do is 120 parcels for a weekend, especially on Sundays. We started with the contributions from 20 friends in 2017. Now we have expanded up to 200 regular donors. Apart from that, there are more than that. Those are ad hoc donors. So what we are doing is nearly 1,000 to 1,500 food packages to homeless and destitute people, and this is what we grown up in the over a 5 years period. And then the impact on poverty. So initially we started to give, we found out that due to the pandemic situation, many of them lost their economic source. So we have decided, as you can see in the first picture, we have decided to contribute from our part, like providing them groceries and giving them some other helps to abolish their poverty. Then we feel that education is the weapon to destroy the poverty. Ultimately, once those poor people, they don't educate, because of them they go for labor works. So we decided to help their family to provide them education. So initially we started with paying. We paid 10 government school students fees, which is cost around. You might be wondering that because it's cost around just $20, equal with our money. So now we can able to provide 1 lakh rupees, that is $5,000 per annum for students in schools and colleges from government and government aided schools. And so there you can find out the poor people and quality education. So this is, we have started actually after my training in the UPG. So we have focusing on quality education because we help the children. Those are from poor background, but their infrastructure, the school's infrastructure was very poor. So we actually think of, okay, giving them a educational input. Apart from that, we can also give a quality education. That comes to our mind, like better we can give them a library so that they can learn, they can make their learning by themselves. So which help them to think about their future as well, because it is lagging in many government schools here. And so we are planning to expand this activity apart from No Hunger. So we started the Bird Pasiyatru, which means no hunger. That is abolishing hunger. That is the main thing. Apart from that, we are also doing this thing. So that's all about my project. I hope that you can understand that. I hope that you can help people other by doing this thing. And I'm very happy that UPG has given me many inputs to make our work in more effective way. Thank you. Thank you so much for giving this opportunity.
Thank you, Nagor. An amazing work you're doing in India. Thank you so much for sharing with us. The next UPG champion I would call on is James. James Peck. You got the microphone. Please let's welcome James once again to the microphone. Thank you. James? Maybe we need to, can someone in the team send James a private message? James, we are calling on you because I saw him here some seconds ago. Okay, so I think we would move on. And all right, thank you so much. DJ, if we can please have music as we move on to the City Mini Insights. Thank you.
Otimbi na timbelio.
All right. Thank you, DJ. All right. So now we'll move on to the City Mini Insights segments where we get to share what is happening in various cities around the world. So in 30 seconds, if you'd like to share what is happening in your city, country, community, in your home, whatever it is, now is the time for you to do so. Just raise your hands, tell us where you are, what city you're in, and what is happening there. Okay. Tell us your name, what city you're in, and what is going on there. All right, so we got the first hand. Bumi, you got the microphone.
Good day, everyone. I'm from Nigeria, from Osun State precisely. So right now what's going on here is election period. So a lot of politicians are coming for vote, and this was like a time when we can know that we really deserve good governance and good leadership. So that is what's going on here, election time.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing for me. All right, Victor, you got the microphone. Victor, you got the microphone. Okay, I would call on Lamzi. Please, you got the microphone. Okay, so Victor says you can unmute yourself, Victor. You can unmute yourself, Victor, if you can hear me. All right, so we would move on. We'll try to assist with that. So Lamzi, you got the microphone, please.
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Annie. Currently, what's happening? Okay, I'm Lamzi Jared, and I'm from Sierra Leone, and I stay in Freetown City. Currently, we are having blackouts all over the country. It has been so much frustrating because we have to leave home to come to a particular center to come and charge our phones, our computers, and everything. But our government said they are working on it, and we are being hopeful that this week to next week we can fix it for us. Thank you so very much.
Thank you. And I'm sorry about the blackout in your city. I can imagine how frustrating that can be. So thank you for letting us know. So I see iPhone raising his or her hand. I just want to implore iPhone to please rename yourself. If you can rename your name, if that's correct, so we can call you appropriately. All right, Letitia, you got the microphone.
Hi, everyone. I'm Leticia from Brazil. And these months of June and July here in Brazil, there's a lot of festivals in the cities that we call Festa Junina. There's literally June party. And there's a very traditional festival when people dress different costumes, and there's a lot of traditional dances and food. I have a dress here that we usually wear. It's very colorful. This belonged to my mom, and I use it sometimes.
Beautiful.
It's really colorful. And we also put a lot of flags, also very colorful in the cities. And so it's 2 months that I really enjoy. And because of the pandemic, there's not many parties of these festivals in the past 2 years. So now people are more happy to participate in these festivals. So it's a really good time here in Brazil. Thanks so much for letting me sharing.
Oh, thank you so much for sharing. A beautiful dress of your mom's. Thank you for that. Okay, so Victor, if you can try again to unmute yourself. And iPhone, if you can please rename yourself as we move on. Okay, maybe Victor, you can try again. I think everyone can unmute. Okay, I'm so sorry about that. It should probably be from your end. So you might want to re-log in your audio connection. Or if someone knows what the issue is, you can advise Victor about that. All right, thank you so much. It's time for music. Did I say music? Oh, I'm excited already. But it's time for pictures. So if you would like to, as always, we take pictures here at UP United Voices. So everyone, if you can please turn on your cameras. It's time to take pictures of our session today. DJ, we can have music. Thank you. Hello, Joy. Lucila, hello. Agnes, hello. DJ, we can't hear the music at all. The volume is low. Okay. All right, so we're going to take pictures with everyone. Photographer, are you ready? See a beautiful face.
Salomon, Ben Salomon.
So on the count of, we are all going to sing. Are you ready? Okay, 1, 2, 3. UPG.
Oh yeah, Sukuma, what? Simba na washa moto.
Love, right?
Sukuma, what? Ambia walale watoto. Asacheza shuka
Photograph, I hope you got that.
Sayoko, yani kama na chamba doko. Moko moko.
Thank you so much. All right, thank you. DJ, you can bring it on. So I see James is back. James, quickly, if you can just tell us about your project in a few, in 1 minute before we move on. Thank you.
Yeah, so my project is revolving regarding to the peace building project, specifically within the youth around the world. And basically, we're trying to educate the public, especially with the youth, on how to do the peace building and learning about the history of the movement that has been going on around the world through the YouTube channel, which obviously I created this year, having at least like over 20 videos that have been created over the past year to reinforce democracy and peace building activities that I did. And so hoping that obviously, I think a lot of you will be having an interest on that. If you are, obviously, I will be able to post my the link here on the chat, and so that way all of you could be able to access through that. But pretty much that's what it's about for my project. If you have any additional questions, or if you want to participate in a webinar or anything like that, just hit me with the email message, which also I will put it on the chat as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you, James, for that. All right, so as we round off, I want to take the community updates, and I want to call on Gitaiga from the membership team, the Kahoots Game Master. He's more than that, I know. So please can we show Gitaiga some love as he takes the microphone. Thank you.
Thank you, Anu. Thank you. First of all, I want to say thank you for such a powerful conversation today, and it's lovely to see so many faces. So for the community update, I'm just going to keep it short. So I'm going to start off by talking about upcoming community events, which the first one is going to be the community call, which is the call reserved just for champions. So if you're a champion and you want to learn more about what it means to be a champion, how you can interact more with the team, and do a bit more, please join these calls. These calls are there for you guys. So that's upcoming next Tuesday. You'll get more information in your email and on the forum space. The next event I want to talk about is also next week on Tuesday. We're going to be having a Learning Lab session brought to you by one of our very own, former UPG team member by Rodrigo. So he's going to be talking to us about let me get this. We're going to be talking about learning about diversity through mental exercise. So that promises to be a very interesting learning lab. So I'm going to post a link to the to that as well in the chat in a minute. You can go ahead and start RSVPing. And then one other thing I want to highlight is that, as usual, next week we're going to be having our United for Ukraine events. So you can already RSVP to that. So please join us in those sessions where we come together and help out and come together as a community for our brothers and sisters in Ukraine. And finally, coming at the end of this month, we have two special community events. We have the UPG networking and the UPG happy hour coming at the end of this month. So look forward to that. We get more information in the forum. And apart from that, that is it. I will also be posting the community calendar so you can keep track of all the different events that we do have. And if you are not part of the UPG family or community yet, I'll also be posting a link on how to join as a champion or member. And just remember, joining as a member is free. So might as well do it. And you have access to the UPG forum and so many other great things. So I'm going to be posting all these links that I've talked about in the chat right now. So please have a look. And I hope to see you, all of you guys, in our future events. And that is it. Thank you very much. And back to you, Anu.
Thank you so much, Tiger. Thank you so much. And we have come to the end of our June United Voices session on child protection against aggression and child labor. I want to give a special thank you to every one of you who joined us at the 12 p.m. session and this session, 5 p.m. I also want to thank our guest speaker, Mr. James Adek, Mr. Wycliffe Udong. Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and expertise on our topic today. I want to thank our champions. Thank you for featuring your projects. I want to thank everyone for sharing about what's going on in their city. And thank you all for your presence. So I look forward to seeing you next month, United Voices. As always, this is a monthly family gathering. My name is Anu Olarewaju, and it's been a pleasure, always a pleasure hosting you today. Happy birthday to everyone whose birthday was this month. For your first time out, welcome. We hope to see you. If you're not a member of the community, please use the magic link. It will be posted in the chat and join us here at UPG. Till next time, everyone, there will be time for music now. So stay till the end, enjoy your music, and see you next time. Thank you. Bye. Bye. The mics can be unmuted now. You want to unmute yourself?